Well, let's go ahead and get started. Again, thank you for joining us. My name is Susan, and I'm here on behalf of George Mason's online Masters of Special Education program, as well as the ABA Graduate Certificate and the Autism Spectrum Disorders Graduate Certificate. And I am joined with Dr. Duke and Dr. Barthold, program coordinators for these wonderful programs. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to meet the presenters. They're going to tell us a little bit more about themselves and all about the wonderful things about George Mason University. And then we're going to talk about the programs and the details of the programs. And then Beth's experience, the rest of the wonderful faculty, and what it's like to be an online student, and then the admissions requirements and next steps. And I can assist you with those and the Q&A. And feel free to input any of your questions via the chat or the Q&A as we go through. And so here, there's a chat box. We're really not going to do the raising of your hand. We're just going to stick to the chat instructions and the questions, and then we'll answer them as we go. So, okay. So Dr. Duke, go ahead and take it away.
All right. I'm Dr. Jody Duke. I am an associate professor at George Mason, and I am the academic program coordinator for our Autism Spectrum Disorders program. I was initially an elementary ed teacher and then quickly switched to special education, realizing that I really enjoyed helping students who had different levels of support needs, and spent a very long time as a teacher in an autism classroom where I supported students specifically who had autism as a diagnosis as they worked in different placements within the school where I worked. I then served for a while as a resource teacher and worked in a setting for students who were high school and transitioning to adulthood. And I've been at Mason since 2008, actually, in this role, although not originally with the autism program. This is a little bit newer than that. So it's a wonderful to be here to be able to talk with you guys about this and answer any questions you might have.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And Dr. Barthold?
Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming tonight. Really happy you're here. I'm Dr. Chris Barthold, and I am the program coordinator for applied behavior analysis. I have been working in the ABA field for almost 30 years. And I obviously started when I was 10, right? But I've worked in just about every different place that you can apply behavior analysis. I've worked in schools, I've worked in hospitals, I've worked in job sites, and most recently, one of the areas that I'm most interested in is the application of behavior analysis to health, sport, fitness, and especially health coaching. So really, it's all behavior, right? So I've been lucky to be able to do lots of different things.
That's amazing. So would one of you like to discuss why Mason?
I can start. I'll do a couple and let you do some, Chris. So I think one of the best parts about our programs is that we offer our programs in a part-time format. So we provide this high quality instruction and an immersive student experience, but we do it in a way that is designed for people who have busy lives. So we We are fully aware and know that you all are professionals, you have families, you have all these different things going on, and that you're looking for a program that is accessible and convenient within your life. And so that is something that we really value, and you'll find that in the way we've designed this program. At the same time, it's the same high quality instruction from faculty that you would get if you came to campus at George Mason. And so we do value that. I'll take the other one on top there. You get to choose between two tracks, the autism spectrum disorders or the applied behavior analysis. And so we'll talk at greater length about both of those, but it gives you a nice amount of choice as you look towards which program to choose.
So I got one of the easy squares. We are one of the top programs for special education according to US News and World Report, and especially our online programs are ranked very high. So you can feel comfortable that you're going to be in good hands and that we are going to prepare you for the things that you're going to be experiencing throughout your career. We definitely have a unique and innovative approach. You'll see later on that it's not, just listen to a lecture, take a test, listen to a lecture, take a test. We have a lot of hands-on activities type in both programs. And it is designed to benefit not only just learners with disabilities, but just about anybody. I think you can apply things from both of our certificates to a lot of places in everyday life. But we're very, very clear that we're not just, when you see special education, you think public school, K-12. And we talk about that stuff, definitely, but we're much more than that. We really value the idea that these things are applicable across the lifespan. And so both programs really have an emphasis on the lifespan perspective, not just the K-12.
I think that's really important and fantastic because obviously these cute children grow up into adults. So do you want me to?
I think we can move on to the next slide.
All right.
Sorry.
No worries. Just waiting for you. There you go. Okay.
All right. Jody, do you want me to take the core courses and then you can do ASD and then I'll do ABA?
Perfect. Yeah, thanks.
Okay. So this is a recognized curriculum. George Mason is, an accredited university. And as such, you are going to be required to take certain courses and get a certain number of credits. So you have a couple of different options depending on where you are in your academic career. If you are looking for a master's degree, then you would take our core courses in addition to whichever track you pick that we'll talk about later. Now, if you already have a master's degree and you're looking just for the certificate, these courses wouldn't necessarily apply to you. But these 5 courses, you have Introduction to Special Education, which is kind of what it says. It's a introduction to how special education works. EDSC 517 is it is our Educational Technology Assistive Technology course. 524 is Universal Design for Learning. So, learning how to make environments and instructional experiences accessible to all kinds of learners. Special education research is exactly what it sounds like, and our capstone is there as well. So without further ado about that, I will turn it over to Jody, and she can tell you a little bit about ASD.
Thank you. So we have a series of coursework that you will work through. We actually start you out in EDSE 634, which is our characteristics of individuals with autism course. And in that class, You learn everything there is to know about the characteristics, the behavior, sensory communication characteristics of autism. And so that's a great sort of first step course. We do a little bit of information in there as well about the DSM-5 and some of the diagnostic guidance, although we now hit on that later as well. You then take EDSE 620, which is a course I teach. It's supporting behavior and sensory needs. I'm very impartial. I love that class. We focus very specifically on different behavioral supports, positive behavior supports, and then we look at each level of autism diagnosis. There are 3 levels, level 1, 2, and 3, and we look at intervention behavior support for that. We then have 635, which is an intervention course where we look each week at a different evidence-based practice, research-based, and really you go into great depth with that. 636 touches on communication and literacy. And so we dig deep into all things related to communication, not just in terms of the articulation and speech production, but also in pragmatic language and conversation and all of those higher level skills that are important. 637 is our collaboration course, where each module is a little different. We focus at a different part of the lifespan. Each module focuses, so you have one on early childhood, one on school age, all the way through aging. And you look at collaboration needs and resources within your own community. And then our newest course, which we offer, is 638, which is assessment and intersectionality. And so this is what I was referring to, where we really dig into the diagnostic process and the assessment of autism. And then intersectionality is an opportunity to look at the intersection of autism with other identities, things like race, gender identity, all of the things that make us who we are, and how that intersects with autism, and how we can sort of respect and honor that in people that we work with. There was a great question about, can you do both simultaneously? My answer, and everyone correct me if I'm wrong, would be that it would be good to do one and then the other, probably, because they're both very rigorous, they're both intense, Brittany. And so I think for sure I would do one and then I would do the other, so that you just are able to sort of breathe at the same time. That would be my take on it. All right, Chris, with your coursework.
Yes, I agree, Jody. It would be a lot to take both certificates simultaneously. But I'll get to in a second why you'd want to choose ASD over ABA or vice versa. One thing that I did not bring up when I talked about the core courses was that you'll see that ASD has 6 courses and that ABA has 7 right now. That means that depending on which track you take, you may not take all of those core courses that we're talking about here. And that would be worked out with your student success coach. So ABA is a preparation program for taking the BCBA exam. So our courses have to meet the Behavior Analyst Certification Board, as well as the Association for Behavior Analysis International requirements for content to prepare you to take that exam. So we put these together very carefully. We start you off with learning how to talk like a behavior analyst. One of the things that a lot of students learn when they first come in is that, you know, they think certain things mean something, but they actually mean something else in behavior analysis, or, you know, there's a word that we use every day this way, behavior analysts use it this way. So there's a lot of vocabulary and there's a lot of those principles and philosophy and things like that that you'll start off with. Then EDSE 621 is your empirical basis. That's where you're going to learn about behavior analytic research, how to take data, which is kind of the cornerstone of behavior analysis. You're going to learn all the quality controls that go into that. And then 622, if we're talking about favorites, that's my favorite. philosophical and conceptual issues. This is where we take a deeper dive in the stuff from EDSE 619. And you'll learn later you get to work with a virtual rat, which some people are like, ew, but most people, the rat grows on them and they find it very cute. And it really does solidify some of these concepts and principles that you're going to learn. And then we get more into the applied part of applied behavior analysis. And so we start talking about assessments and interventions. And a lot of those assessments are going to be towards assessment of problem behavior, like functional assessment, functional analysis, if you're familiar with those things, and how to intervene. So that's your first really applied course. And then EDSE 624, you're going to learn about all kinds of different applications. So our program is not necessarily autism centric. We expose you to lots of different applications of behavior analysis, and that's where you're going to learn about a lot of those. You're also going to learn how behavior analysis is applied in supervision leadership situations. We call that organizational behavior management. So you learn that in EDSE 624. EDSE 625 is about verbal behavior and the behavior analytic approach to language and how we use language. And then EDSE 664 is our ethics course. So that's where you learn a lot and take a really deep dive into ethics. Sometimes we get people like, I'm on the fence. I don't know if I want to do ASD. Do I want to do ABA? Brittany's like, I kind of want to do both. How do I make this decision? And hopefully Dr. Duke will jump in after I say this, but the way that I see the best way to make that decision is if you're really passionate about learning everything you can about the characteristics of autism, how autism manifests, the unique needs of people on the autism spectrum, some of the more, ways that we talk about intersectionality, like Jody was talking about, and how, do we talk about autistic people? Do we talk about people with autism? All those types of things. Then you want to go your ASD track. You're not going to get that in ABA. In ABA, you're going to get more of that, what we call the science of behavior. So it's more of the why we do what we do, and not necessarily geared towards a specific population. Is there talk about autism? Yes. Do we have examples of people on the autism spectrum? Yes, we do. But we also have other things like the virtual rat, for example, or organizational behavior management, applications to, for example, behavioral pediatrics, that type of thing. So, if your passion lies with autism, go ASD. If your passion lies more in kind of like why do we do what we do, then go ABA. And Dr. Duke, please jump.
No, I totally agree. I think that we are the place for folks who want to really consider themselves a specialist in all things autism. And so that is the difference. We do look at behavior, but we do not look at it through only an ABA lens. We talk about ABA and some of the basics because you will no doubt work with folks in the ABA field. But to me, that's the big difference. I think you articulated that perfectly. I also think that when you look at the career path and what you want after the program, that's another good differentiator, right? So if you want to be a BCBA, that's a very specific ABA moment, and pretty much all other purposes, which we'll talk about shortly, other career options fall into the autism program.
Thank you for clarifying that. Is it okay if I ask a question? Okay, so can you talk a little bit more about the capstone and what that involves?
You want me to take that one, Chris?
I can throw that a little bit to you because I know about 590. And our capstone is going to change in a couple of years. Did you want to take that? Is that okay?
Sure. And we don't have a lot of students who choose this route, but the 590 course is the research course that you would take within the program, and then the capstone is really more of an individualized project where you would have a very specific research topic that you want to focus on, and typically this is an independent study type of experience where you are working with a faculty member to see that research through. So I've only had one or two students in all the years of being a part of this program do this. In 590, students also get to select a project, but 590 offers a little greater. If you do the regular 590, the research course, it is sort of task analyzed for you in that course, where you're very supported as this research process is scaffolded. And then in capstone, I think if we typically recommend that if you're someone who already has research experience or has just this project that they really feel passionate about that doesn't fit the typical trajectory. So yeah, good question.
Thank you so much. Okay, Dr. Barthold, I'm sorry. You've got my curiosity piqued a little bit. What is the deal with the virtual rat?
Oh, we'll be talking about that in a little bit. And
Okay,
I'll show you, I'll actually show you exactly what that looks like.
perfect.
Yeah, yeah, it's a lot of fun. So,
All right. Are we ready to go to the next slide?
yep, I think so.
Okay, thanks.
So this one is really what I was just talking about where do you want to be at the end of this, which I know is weird to say as you're just thinking about where you want to start. But because this is a certificate track and we really want you thinking about your career outcome. For autism, we are really preparing all kinds of professionals. You can work anywhere in any field with any autistic person at the end of this program. So we have a lot of people who are in education who do this as an add-on certificate, particularly teachers who are trying to get to their master's plus 30 will add it on as like a second program after another master's. We have people who are adult service providers. We have a lot of folks now actually as employers are looking to recruit autistic employees because of certain characteristics that make them very strong in the workforce. We are getting people who want to know how to better support and connect with others who are autistic. We also have family members who want to learn. We have several. You're going to hear from Beth Felsen in a minute, one of our alums. She has an incredibly successful consulting company. She does transition consulting. So she works with high school students and their families as they're deciding what comes next. And I was saying before we started, I think one of our most interesting was we did have someone who was an FBI profiler who needed to know more about autism and just the intricacies of this diagnosis. We actually, I think we need to change this. We're at 1 in 38 right now are being diagnosed with autism. The need is so tremendous for all kinds of professionals. And the wonderful thing about our program, I think, too, is that we teach you to work with all ages, because what we're seeing is that all of the many children with autism are growing up, and so you've no doubt seen it in your own work in your communities. I don't think there's anywhere you can go and not engage with autistic individuals, and so this is a really important area of knowledge to have. And so, yeah, we just really believe that this is a wonderful track for anyone who wants to better the lives of autistic individuals, and I think have your life bettered, because we're talking about people who have, contribute incredible amounts to our community.
Wonderful.
And I'll talk a little bit about ABA. We do provide partial preparation for you to take the boards. So right now we are on our 5th edition task list. We are a verified course sequence by the Association for Behavior Analysis International. There are lots of changes afoot. as of 2026, 2027. And rest assured, we are on them. You may have heard of them if you're looking into ABA right now. We are definitely on them and we know what needs to happen. But for right now, we provide the coursework. You would need to secure field work and you would need to take the boards in order to become a BCBA. So we prepare you with the coursework to prepare you for those boards, but you'll have to take them and also get your field work. We've been doing this a long, long time. Dr. Hoke founded this program in the early 2000s, and we've been online for quite a long time as well. So we have a lot of experience doing online teaching and learning, as does Dr. Duke. And we have really put an emphasis on making sure that you know your stuff when you walk out the door. And because there's such a need right now, there's been tremendous growth. Most BCBAs have been certified in the last 5 years, and yet there are still many places where families are looking for ABA services and can't find them. So there's lots of opportunity out there, and we're going to make sure that you are ready to go to meet that need.
That's wonderful. Recently, I've had a number of international applicants that have inquired about this. And so, what can I offer them with respect to that with a BCBA exam? You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. Actually, that's a bit of a sticky wicket
Mm-hmm.
because the BCBA exam is only being offered in English speaking countries right now. So if somebody is not living in an English speaking country, they would not be eligible to take the exam. And that also includes right now, there was just a new thing that came out that individuals living in Ontario also cannot get certified as of, I think, January 1st. But there are other options out there. You may not be able to become a BCBA, but we do have there is an international behavior analyst organization. Where you are might offer, a licensure or a certification where you live. So I wouldn't necessarily say, don't come because you can't take the exam. You're still going to get that preparation. You're still going to get that knowledge. It just might not, the letters BCBA might not be after your name, but that doesn't mean that, you're not going to be able to get tools that you need to serve the people in your community.
And there are great needs, when I speak to these individuals. So, well, that's great to know about that international organization. So, yeah, if at some point, could you provide me with that information so that I could pass it on to those applicants at some point?
Sure. I'd
Because
be happy to email that to
yeah,
you.
that
Yeah,
would be great. Thank you so much.
absolutely.
Okay. Are we ready for the next slide?
I think so.
Okay.
Jody, I'll let you take this one since Beth is.
Sure. This is Beth. She was one of our first cohorts of students to come through, and like I said, has a really successful business. So she said the faculty were very engaged with the students and clearly interested in our success. They were very knowledgeable in the subject area and clearly passionate about their field. They were incredibly responsive to questions as well. I think this highlights what we try to do. So, we're there, even though we are teaching in what we call an asynchronous online manner. So in the autism program, you will log in, and at the beginning of your week, right now, our weeks start on Thursday, not Monday, which is a little strange, but you get used to it. So on Thursday, you log in and a new module opens up, and you have lecture videos to watch and readings to do and assignments to do and engaging opportunities to complete with your peers. So discussion boards and wikis and all kinds of things to get you talking to each other virtually. And I think what's wonderful about that is that you can complete it at your own pace over the course of the week, which is great. But at the same time, I spend a lot of time, many days on Zoom calls with students, having small group meetings, always answering emails. That's just a given. And so really do feel like that is something that is unique to our programs, is the responsiveness of our faculty. And we bring in full-time faculty, but we also bring in other experts in the field. So I think that's a strength as well, making sure that the people who are teaching you are really the best in the field is important to us.
Well, I mean, and I think that's apparent by our high ranking. I mean, we wouldn't be seventh in the entire nation without fantastic faculty like y'all. So, um, plus we're also a tier one research university, right? We're the largest research institution in Virginia. So that's good
Yeah, and
stuff
I
too.
think across both ABA and autism, you'll find that faculty are actively researching. In ABA, I won't speak for you guys, Chris, but they are very active in their field. We all are engaged in work with our professional organizations, so really you get a lot of knowledge in a lot of different areas, which I think is incredibly helpful. I think one of the challenges of academia is that we get away from the people that we are originally teaching or working with, and I think that we have all really worked hard to stay current in our fields.
That's great. Um, so if I can ask, how much group work is there for the students?
In the autism program, we have assignments every week that require engagement, but most of them are the ones that they do every week, like discussion boards. There are things called wikis. Those are done individually, but they respond to each other. And so you aren't waiting around for someone. I think one of the biggest challenges with adults doing cooperative work is schedules and time zones, and all the
Sure.
things. So we try to design it where you get engagement and you get to learn from each other and interact, but you aren't, your grade isn't dependent on Fred doing their part of the assignment. We do have some assignments in each of our courses in the autism program where you do work in actual groups and you turn in a group product. But we are very intentional to put those at least midway or towards the end of courses so that there's nothing worse than like week 2, you don't even know who's in there with you and you've got to do a group assignment. And we do typically do an individual grade component in addition to that if we do group work. So we think it's important. It's a very collaborative field. People who work with individuals with autism very rarely work in a bubble by themselves. We're out in community organizations. So we want you to learn how to collaborate and work professionally, but we also want to be mindful that you're busy professional adults. Chris,
Yeah, we
I don't
have
know
a
if
fair
that's the
amount
same for
of,
you all.
yeah, we have a fair amount of group work. And it's for the reasons that, Dr. Duke said before. Really those, professional skills, those collaborative skills, we take that very, very seriously. And a lot of our group work is meant to model interactions that you would have in the field as a practicing behavior analyst. We do a lot of things that require a little bit of peer teaching. So you're interacting with each other. I've taken a fair amount of online courses myself. And one of the things that often happens is they end up kind of feeling lonely is the best way to put it. Because you're interacting with the screen and your Word document and Blackboard, and that's about it. And we've been really intentional about creating communities, communities of learners, communities of practice. And I have gotten feedback that a lot of people look forward to their group meetings every week because they get to interact with other people in the class. They get to talk about the material. They're finding kindred spirits who are working through this stuff and struggling where they're struggling, and a lot of people will say, we didn't think we'd like it, but we actually grew to love it. So yeah, we do have a good amount of group work that happens in ABA.
I think it's sort of cool that it's consultative in a way, like especially like if you have a family member that has autism and you're trying to figure out novel ways of, helping. Maybe somebody else has an interesting way of doing things, and I think that's great. So, um, y'all can't less. I'm asking all the questions here. Don't be shy. We have the experts here. But if I may ask one more question, um, how much time does a student spend on average? And I know that's very difficult based on the person, but just on average, would you say?
Dr. Bartol, do you want to take that one first? I feel like I'm talking first a lot.
Sure. It's a great question. I think that one of the things that students learn early on, especially in the ABA certificate, is that you've got to distribute your work across the week. Um, People who like, oh, well, I'll work during the, and I'll just do this on Saturday or Sunday, um, quickly kind of figure out that maybe that's a little bit too much to put into one day. I would say that the majority of students put somewhere between 8 to 10 hours a week on our coursework, because it is compressed into 8 weeks. So we've got a lot of material to cover in 8 weeks.
Right.
So I would say it's about an 8 to 10 hour a week commitment, that should be distributed, across. And we try to make assignments little. So we have, um, this thing that maybe takes 5 minutes and this thing over here that's going to take 10 minutes, rather than here's this big thing that you've got to do, in 3 hours type of thing. So we really do break it down so that, you can take things in small chunks and work on things. Jody,
Yeah, I think that, we used to have this formula of hours per credit that we would give, but I think it's a little daunting. And I don't think that it's the same for everyone. So I think it's a little misleading. Um, my honest answer would be that outside of class, I would probably recommend 3 to 5 hours a week for readings, assignments, that kind of thing. We do the same as ABA. We have some very large assignments. Each semester you have one sort of overarching assignment, but we work on it every week and we chunk that into manageable portions. So we try to embed the same strategies that we talk about as best practice for teaching and professional work within the program. So there aren't surprises. There's always a printable module checklist, and you get that out on day one, and you structure your week just like ABA, and it's manageable. But I do think that it takes a certain level of commitment, just to be sure that you're going to take advantage of the learning. So yeah, I would probably say 3 to 5.
Okay. But then how many hours are spent in class time, like watching the
I
videos
think
and all that
that
stuff?
varies tremendously. Yes. So we
Mm,
usually have several videos to watch. We try to keep them short because we know that, attention wanes. And so, um, so you have a few hours of coursework to work through as well. So especially
okay.
depends though on your reading and all those things, how quickly you move through things. But yeah, it is a time commitment. You're doing graduate work, and we do want you to know that this is. We'll keep using the word rigorous because we think that is part of our success in both of these programs. Is that we are maintaining the high standards that we do in all of our other programs. So even though it's just because it's online doesn't change that aspect.
No, exactly. And that's what I always inform. You're getting the same education. It's just the presentation is just a little bit different. So, which is excellent. Because this program is designed for working professionals. So that's what makes it so appealing. So are we ready for the next slide?
I love this slide because it's everyone we love. So I'll take the autism faculty. At the top is Dr. Grace Francis. She is truly an expert in our field. She works in family and professional partnerships and has an incredible knowledge related to autism and families. She teaches our collaboration course where she is able to share all of that knowledge with you guys. And she also teaches our communication and literacy course. And then Dr. Lynn Jorgensen, who you see has an incredible background, and she teaches our characteristics course. She is the director of our Mason Life program, which is our post-secondary program for students with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Dr. Jorgensen was a previous dean of students at Mason and just has a wealth of knowledge about mental health, disability, all kinds of different things. And so she's a great one for folks to have their first class with, because she just really, I think she has a way of calming everyone down so you don't feel super nervous by the end of the class, even if you felt a little nervous at the beginning. Dr. Bartol, do you want to take yours?
Sure. We just had a really cool question. When completing the programs, is there an in-person graduation, an opportunity to put names with faces? Yes, you can come to graduation and you can see us all in our funny gowns. And there is absolutely, ways to put names with faces throughout the program. So, you're not just gonna kind of, talk to an avatar. Most of our courses start off with a quick introductory video so that you can get to know the people in the class with you. A lot of times you'll be meeting and doing stuff. So yeah, absolutely. We have been really intentional about creating community and making sure that you're part of a community. Again, we don't want you to get lonely, and online learning can get lonely. And we have another question, and I'll do that, and then we'll get to faculty. For the ABA track, would it be an individual or collaborative group work grade? That really depends on the assignment and what the goals of the assignment are. So I can't really say, oh, it's going to be this or it's going to be that. There are so many different assignments that are graded in different ways. I will say that we've designed most of our courses so that one project or one assignment doesn't determine your whole grade in the course. So there's a lot of assignments that balance out, individual and group to make sure that you have a balance of things. So it's not like, oh, well, if Joe doesn't do his work, then we're all sunk, we're all going to get a C. Like we've got it set up so that that type of thing doesn't happen. And we also do a lot of things with coaching. So if groups aren't working well, we feel like learning how to navigate conflict is an important part of professional skill. So we really do a lot of work with you if there is conflict within the group. Talking about conflict resolution, talking about ways to have crucial conversations with people, that type of thing. So, it's not just, oh, well, here's your group work, go to it. It really is a collaborative process with the professor. Hopefully that answered your question. So let me talk a little bit about the ABA faculty. I will say we're missing somebody on the slide. I just realized that just now. And one of the things that I think is really important to know is that every single person on this faculty, including myself, is a practicing behavior analyst. So, it say, well, when's the last time you worked with a client? Most of us can say this afternoon. I can say that, 4 o'clock this afternoon. So you're going to have people who know both sides, both the academic piece and also, what it's like to be a practicing behavior analyst. Dr. Ted Hoke was the founder of our program, and he mostly works right now in marriage and family therapy. He has worked with people with disabilities across the lifespan. He's also worked in some more basic research, which is when we get to the rats, so we'll talk about that a little bit. Dr. Lisa Tullo works a lot in organizational behavior management. As we talked about, that's leadership, problem solving, working in more group environments. And she does that in a number of places, including schools. Dr. Christy Park does more stuff in school-based supports, but she also does some work working with families and clients on the autism spectrum. And not listed here is Dr. Kristen Kugel. Kristen is our newest faculty member to ABA, but not to Mason. And her area of expertise is early childhood special education. So she works with little kids with autism. It, whereas I've worked across the lifespan, but I've mostly worked on the other side of the lifespan. And so, but my area is, I do work with individuals with disabilities, but I also work in health, sport, and fitness, and I'm currently going for my board certification as a health and wellness coach, and hoping that that will enhance some of your learning as you go along. I currently work as a teacher's assistant for autistic children aged 2 to 5. Great, awesome. That's great work.
I was thinking that you're very patient because little ones are a very intense age. 2 to 5. Good job.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh, we have another question.
Yes. Do you mind if I take that, Jody? Is that okay?
Go for it. Yeah.
Okay. What applications besides Blackboard will we have to use? I think that's going to differ depending on what program you're in. Will you be able to use all types of laptops, Apple, Chrome, etc.? So for the ABA program, we recommend that you get a laptop or a desktop that is either a Mac or a PC. There are certain assignments that we have that don't run on Chromebooks. They don't run well on things like a Surface or a tablet or an iPad or an iPhone. So we do recommend that you get a laptop or a desktop, or that you find a way to kind of, borrow one or something to that effect. But what programs you're going to run are going to be different depending on what classes you're taking, and also which program track you take. So there isn't quite one answer to that. It's several different answers. Jody, what is the requirements?
You can use anything for the autism program. We have a few things, like I just am looking at an assignment where we did some environmental design work, and our students have sort of diagrammed a sensory space, and I think it is not working well for people with Chrome. So I'm just advising them to switch to Firefox or something else, and it seems to be working. So you will have a few moments like that, but you can use whatever kind of laptop, or a Chromebook is fine. It shouldn't matter for our program.
That's a great question, though. Okay, next slide.
Yep, I think we're ready.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Oh, the one I've been waiting for.
Oh, here we go. All right, since this is my slide, let's talk a little bit about these interactive programs. So here's our cute little rat. Rat is cyberneticus. And this is, if you've ever seen any of the kind of YouTube videos where BF Skinner's on or anything like that, you'll see that he works with rats and pigeons in operant chambers. And people still do that, actually. And it's a great way to learn the basics. So it's a great way to understand things like shaping and schedules of reinforcement, and all these types of things in a really basic way. And so you will be working with a colony of rats that you'll set up, and you'll do a set of experiments with the rat. We'll walk you through all of them. And especially in this course, EDSC 622, you'll see that they actually do, we actually have you write a full paper. And so you'll start from, the background and significance all the way down to the discussion, but we'll walk you through that process along the way. So that helps you kind of understand how the research process works, and especially the basic research process. On the second side is our simulation functional analysis. That's actually Dr. Hoke there standing over our friend Jen. And so what we do is that you actually watch one of these in process. You take data and you analyze the data. So you're seeing what's going on and taking data and immersing yourself into that assessment process in a way that I don't think is possible to just talk about or watch a video on. So you're always an active learner. And I think that's what makes our program very, very unique. Both our programs. So not just ABA. Jody has a lot of great hands-on learning as well. So I'm going to turn it over to her.
Yes, I don't know. Did we have a slide on our case studies? I can't remember. But regardless, we don't have a cyber rat. So I do have to be honest about that. I have no cyber rat in our program, but in the autism program, our experiential learning comes from 4 autistic individuals who allowed us to basically follow them around for several days each with a camera crew. And so you meet Jake and Brooke and William and Allie, and they're each at a different age and a different level in terms of the diagnostic piece. And you meet them and their families and their teachers and their, their ABA therapists. And so you really become very immersed in their lives, and all of your assignments revolve around them. And so in behavior, you are working on a plan to help Jake with his self-regulation when he gets a little bit overexcited at certain things that end up being something that, we really focus in the autism program. One of the things we really look at is, behavior change and looking at making sure that we're not just trying to fix people, which is sort of the way we used to look at behavior years ago in our field, was, sort of normalizing everyone. And so we really look at how can we help promote behaviors that will be helpful to Jake as he gets older in the community and at work. And so his self-regulation was that he loved the feedback that he got in his ear when the microphone would go crazy because he would scream. And so he was really hurting the ears of everyone in the camera crew. It ended up being this wonderful moment we didn't mean to capture, but so you come up with a plan to help him, and you embed his favorite things, which are, he's a cyclist and he loves engaging with certain friends. And so you really get a sense of how do you carry out this skill that we're trying to teach you, of developing this specific behavior system, but you're doing it in this real world way, which I think is very beneficial. And so those are the pieces that I think make our program unique with those folks. And I'm able to give updates because we're still in touch with everyone, and that's always nice. Students get very attached to those 4 individuals by the end of the program, for sure. There was a great question about being an early childhood special ed teacher. And so neither of these programs will give you teacher certification. I want to be very clear. So the autism program gives you a certificate, but in Virginia, there is no teaching license associated with autism. And so you would want to look at doing an early childhood special ed teaching certificate, and then perhaps the autism as a nice add-on piece. You could do it in either order if you wanted to start with autism and then add that later. But I'm happy to talk with you about that. I'll put my email at the end of this too. But I just wanted to be sure to know there is not a teaching certificate associated with either of these programs at this time.
Right. So if they're looking for teacher licensure, the campus program does provide for that, correct?
That's right. And we get a lot of students who blend them. So they'll do that and then add on an autism piece for sure. I don't know if you see that as often in ABA.
We don't necessarily see that as much. Typically, if people are going for it, they've already been licensed and then they come and do the ABA certificate. Um, we're a little bit different than the autism program in that we have both an online and a campus option for ABA. And autism is fully online. So our situation is a little bit different, but if people are interested in teacher licensure, we do have, a great program that is also highly ranked in US News and World Report. So um, there's definitely those avenues available to you.
Yeah, thank you so much. One thing that I'd like to add is that I get a lot of applicants, and if they're going for the BCBA, if they only have a bachelor's, it's great to know that you only need, once you get those ABA classes, you just need 3 additional courses to get your master's in special ed, plus that graduate certificate in ABA that will allow you to sit for the BCBA exam. So
I think it's important to make sure that people know is if you're looking to do this, and it is possible to do, absolutely 100% possible to do, but you'll want to try to finish up um, before 2026 because there's going to be some major changes to board certification requirements. Um, Again, if you don't finish up, there's options for you. It's not all is lost if, you don't finish up. But right now, what we're talking about with board certification really only extends to about 2026. So I think it's really important that people know that as they're going in to apply.
absolutely. And the master's itself with one of the graduate certificates is a total of 20 months or 5 semesters. And the ABA alone is 7 classes. So that's 21 credits. So that's going to be, oh, I don't know how many semesters. It's going to be, I think, like a year and 8 weeks or something like that.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
you also have 2,000 hours of field work that you'll have to do. Mason doesn't provide those, but you can start accruing those as soon as you start your first course.
Yeah, which is wonderful.
So
Yes, that's good to know. Okay. All right. So in terms of the admissions process, do one of y'all like to talk about it, or would you like it? It doesn't matter to me.
Would you do that one for us, actually?
But of
I
course,
think that's probably
yes.
you're the specialist on that. Thank you.
No problem. Now, I must say, yes, I'm there to guide everyone, but I'm not going to be looking at your folder to say whether to accept you or not, right? But that said, my colleagues and me, we're sort of the gatekeepers. We know who makes a good candidate and who, doesn't, so we can advise you properly. So a minimum of a GPA of a 3.0. However, there's wiggle room for that. There's a GPA addendum that you can submit explaining, why your grades weren't as high as expected. So maybe you were taking a full load and working full time. Mason is really good about looking at the entire individual as a whole. So they're going to look at your work experience, your background, your grades. Maybe there were certain grades that, you were taking organic chemistry and then you decided you didn't want to be a doctor or something like that. Okay, so then transcripts. Mason, as long as you have unofficial transcripts, Mason can use those to confer a decision, and we will attempt to order official transcripts on your behalf as a courtesy. A resume, which mostly everybody has. 2 letters of reference, super easy. Admissions requires 1 past or present supervisor, but again, it's very easy. All you do is input the names and emails of your references into the application portal, and then they will receive an email with a link that takes them to a questionnaire. Literally only takes them about 10 minutes to complete. a personal statement, and the instructions for that personal statement can be obtained by speaking to me or one of my colleagues. So on the next slide upcoming will be contact information, and we're happy to assist you. This is a great program, and the faculty are wonderful and caring and supportive people. And as admissions reps, like I said, we're happy to assist you in this process. So here's the information. So the main number is listed there, the email, and then of course, the link to apply as well. Oh, thank you, Dr. Duke. Okay, so Dr. Duke just posted her email. Thank you for that.
Yeah, and there's a great question about can you do this and then teacher licensure? Absolutely. You can combine these in whatever order best fits your needs.
Okay, terrific. Yes. And then a question regarding FAFSA. So as long as you don't have outstanding master's or doctoral debt, most students, now I'm not a financial aid counselor, so don't put this in writing, but for the most part, as long as you're not a convicted felon or have master's or doctoral debt, most students are awarded $20,500 per year in unsubsidized loans. And so again, we can talk to you about, you know, we have external scholarship information. There's payment plans that you can set up with Mason, FAFSA, Sallie Mae, which is private loans. There's various opportunities, sometimes tuition reimbursement by, if you're working at a certain facility, they will assist you. But we're happy to explain. So you said I've applied. What's next? So once you get accepted into the program and then you register for classes, in other words, once you have a bill, you'll be able to see the amount that is awarded in Patriot Web. But again, you can reach out to one of us and we can provide you with Mason's financial aid office information, and you can reach out to them to see if they can provide you with further information. I can provide you with some scholarship information. Or if you're already, are you already working with an admissions representative? If you're working with an admissions representative, they can provide it for you. But I can post my email as well here. And so you can reach out and I'm happy to help you. Oops, if I can type, let's see.
I just realized you have to select to everyone, otherwise they don't see it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Oh, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do it here. I'm going to post it in the chat and to everyone. There you go. That's me. And my name is Susan. Okay. But again, if you're working with somebody, oh, you're quite welcome anytime. And yeah, we're happy to assist you. And I would like to thank both of you for joining us. Thank you so much for your time. It was great to learn so much about this program. It was informative for me, and I'm sure it was informative for the registrants as well. So any more questions before we go, because it's that bewitching hour? I can also post my phone number as well. But again, reach out to your admissions rep if you have one. But that's my direct line. Okay. And I look forward to hearing from everybody.